Vatican and Crypto, the Holy See's view on digital currency. Part 1. Introduction and the Moral Imperative. Welcome once again to Secrets of Catholicism. Today we confront the ancient seat of spiritual authority, Vatican City, with the most disruptive and debated phenomenon of the modern financial world, cryptocurrency. This is not simply a tech story. It is a profound ethical confrontation. This content is for educational and analytical purposes only. It is not financial, investment, or legal advice. Imagine the contrast: a sovereign state founded on 2 millennia of faith, defined by marble, gold, and tangible history, now facing an asset based purely on code, anonymity, and global consensus. The Vatican, an institution whose financial roots run from the Roman denarius to the modern euro, is forced to apply its timeless moral compass to a borderless, volatile, and decentralized future. The Church's response to crypto is anchored in its foundational Catholic social teaching, CST. This doctrine demands that any economic system prioritize the common good and the dignity of the human person. Money must serve, not rule. It is from this theological platform, not from a position of economic self-interest, that the Holy See scrutinizes digital finance. Pope Francis has been the most articulate critic of an unchecked global economy, warning against the idolatry of money and an economy that excludes and discards. He directly condemns financial systems built on the absolute autonomy of the markets and pure speculation, which he believes lead to profound inequality. This perspective places the Church directly at odds with the core mechanism driving cryptocurrencies: speculation. The high volatility of assets like Bitcoin is viewed as morally destabilizing, a practice that risks creating financial bubbles and unfairly transferring wealth to those already privileged. Pope St. John Paul II taught that a stable currency is essential for honest labor. Crypto, which decouples value from productive work and ties it to market frenzy, fundamentally challenges this stability. The Holy See identifies 3 major ethical conflicts with current cryptocurrency models. 1. Anonymity and illicit activity. The anonymity that proponents champion is seen by the Vatican as a severe moral liability. Vatican representatives have repeatedly warned that the shift to less transparent digital payments increases the risk of money laundering, human trafficking, and terrorist financing. For the Church, financial privacy must be balanced by accountability to ensure justice and the common good are upheld. 2. Environmental stewardship. The massive energy consumption associated with proof-of-work mining, particularly Bitcoin, is a direct conflict with Pope Francis's environmental encyclical, Laudato Si. The consumption of energy equivalent to small nations, simply for transaction verification, is viewed as an act of profound ethical negligence and poor stewardship of creation's limited resources. 3. Economic exclusion. While crypto promises inclusion for the unbanked, its speculative nature often makes it a high-risk gamble. The Church fears that its volatility could exacerbate rather than solve global poverty and inequality, primarily serving as a tool for rapid wealth accumulation by the technologically sophisticated few. The Vatican, therefore, faces a profound paradox. The underlying blockchain technology offers immense potential for good, for transparency, for fighting corruption, and for challenging the monopolistic control of major banks. Yet the resulting cryptocurrency asset embodies the very speculative greed and lack of accountability that the Church preaches against. The goal of this multi-part examination is to move beyond the simplistic question of to buy or not to buy. We will analyze the calculated conservatism of the Holy See, detailing the regulatory firewalls established by the ASF, and exploring the selective ways the Church is adopting specific technologies, such as NFTs for art and DLT for documentation, while maintaining its moral opposition to reckless financial speculation. The Church's ultimate imperative is not to embrace or reject technology, but to ensure that this revolutionary tool serves humanity, fosters stability, and upholds the demands of the gospel. This is the moral high ground from which the world's oldest institution is now judging the world's newest money. Part 2. Core Components, Ethics, Law, and the Double-Edged Sword. Section A. The three great ethical risks and the crisis of stability. The Vatican's engagement with cryptocurrency is not characterized by economic interest, but by a deep-seated moral skepticism. This skepticism stems directly from its Catholic social teaching, CST, which mandates that financial systems must be judged by their impact on the poor and the stability of society. The Holy See has identified three critical ethical risks inherent in the current structure of most cryptocurrencies, particularly proof-of-work models. 1. The anonymity paradox and the erosion of accountability. The defining feature of many cryptocurrencies, the pseudo-anonymity that allows users to transact without traditional identification, is perhaps the most condemned aspect from a moral and security standpoint. While proponents argue this protects privacy from oppressive states, the Vatican sees it as a catastrophic loophole for illicit finance. Vatican officials, particularly those speaking at the United Nations, have unequivocally linked the lack of transparency in digital payments to the facilitation of serious transnational crimes. They have noted the shift from hard cash, which required some level of physical logistics, to the instantaneous, untraceable nature of digital transfers that expedite money laundering, drug trafficking, and the financing of terrorism. Most tragically, Ms. Urbanchik specifically highlighted the role of opaque digital currencies in the smuggling and exploitation of migrants. The Church's moral stance is clear. Absolute anonymity in finance undermines the fundamental social obligation of accountability. When transactions cannot be traced or scrutinized, the pursuit of justice is thwarted, and the common good, a society free from illicit finance, is irrevocably compromised. For an institution dedicated to defending the vulnerable, an untraceable currency is a tool for the oppressors. 2. Speculation, volatility, and the scandal of devaluation. The core of the Catholic financial critique rests on the stability of value. Following the teachings laid out in Pope John Paul II's Centesimus Annus, the Church asserts that a stable currency is vital because it allows individuals who work and produce to enjoy the fruits of their labors. Cryptocurrency, driven by extreme volatility, is seen as the antithesis of this stability. Pope Francis has amplified this warning in Evangelii Gaudium, where he explicitly criticizes the ideologies that uphold the absolute autonomy of markets and financial speculation. For the Vatican, the speculative nature of Bitcoin detaches currency from its primary function to act as a reliable medium of exchange and transforms it into a purely high-risk financial instrument. This decoupling of value from real productive labor is morally problematic. Furthermore, the volatility poses a systemic risk. When the value of an asset can drop by 50% in a week, it does not function as a reliable store of wealth for long-term charitable endowments or basic savings. The Church views such extreme price swings as contributing to financial turmoil that disproportionately harms the poor and widens the gap between the affluent speculators and the working majority. The financial environment created by hyper-speculation is thus branded as ethically unsound. 3. Environmental negligence and the Laudato Si conflict. The third major ethical fault line concerns the environmental impact of cryptocurrencies using the proof-of-work POW consensus method. The energy consumption required to mine Bitcoin is astronomical, often rivaling the total energy usage of medium-sized nations. Pope Francis's 2015 encyclical, Laudato Si, is the Church's definitive call for ecological conversion and stewardship. It stresses the urgent need to move away from destructive, resource-intensive technologies. From the Vatican's perspective, the unnecessary and massive consumption of energy for transaction verification is a clear violation of this moral mandate. It represents an active sin against creation, prioritizing financial gains over the preservation of the planetary common home. While the Church acknowledges the emergence of greener alternatives like proof-of-stake POWs, the prominence and impact of POW models remain a profound and unresolved moral impediment to full endorsement. Section B. Legal maneuvers and the ASIF's gates. As a sovereign jurisdiction, Vatican City-State (VCS) is scrutinized by international financial bodies, including the Financial Action Task Force (FATF). Due to past financial irregularities, the Vatican has been determined to demonstrate ironclad adherence to global anti-money laundering (AML) and counter-terrorist financing (CTF) standards. This commitment is the primary driver of its regulatory stance on crypto. The role of the IOR and ASIF. The Istituto per l'Opera di Religione IOR, the Vatican Bank, is central to managing the Church's monetary transactions. The Autorità di Supervisione e Informazione Finanziaria (AUS) is the independent regulatory body that supervises the IOR and all financial activities in the VCS. ASIF has implemented stringent, internationally compliant regulations concerning virtual assets and virtual asset service providers. While the regulations do not issue a blanket ban on cryptocurrencies, the requirements for licensing and due diligence are so onerous that they create a de facto exclusion for most internal church entities. Any religious order, diocese or institution under Vatican control wishing to engage in significant crypto activities must demonstrate rigorous traceability and compliance that often exceeds their operational capacity. This strategic regulatory hurdle effectively walls off the Vatican's financial integrity from the risks of decentralized finance. The distinction, blockchain versus cryptocurrency. Crucially, the legal distinction between the underlying technology and the financial asset provides the Holy See with an escape route. The Church is actively receptive to the use of distributed ledger technology, DLT, or blockchain for non-financial administrative and preservation purposes. Examples include 1. Provenance and authenticity, using DLT to certify and track the ownership and authenticity of priceless manuscripts in the Vatican Apostolic Library, combating forgery. 2. Internal transparency, applying DLT to create tamper-proof auditable records for charitable fund disbursements, enhancing transparency and combating internal corruption, a core mission of Pope Francis's reforms. This selective embrace demonstrates that the Vatican is not anti-technology, it is anti-speculation and anti-opacity. Section C. Investment reality and the strategic adoption of NFTs. The reality of indirect exposure. The question of whether the Vatican invests in crypto is complicated by its structure. While the IOR and the administration of the patrimony of the Apostolic See, APS, likely avoid direct active investment in volatile cryptocurrencies, the Church holds vast diversified assets managed through global third-party endowment funds and religious order portfolios. These institutional funds do have exposure to digital assets. Thus, the Vatican's crypto exposure is almost certainly passive and indirect, managed far down the chain of custody, minimizing institutional risk and avoiding moral complicity in speculation. The case of NFTs, technologies serving mission. The most publicized instance of the Vatican engaging with digital assets is its venture into non-fungible tokens. The Vatican Apostolic Library announced an experimental project to digitize portions of its priceless collection, including manuscripts and artworks, and display them in a virtual NFT gallery. The intention is critical: to democratize art and make cultural heritage accessible to people worldwide regardless of their socio-economic or geographical limitations. The NFTs themselves are treated not as speculative commodities for sale, but as digital certificates, tickets, or access tokens. This project serves the CST principle of the universal destination of goods by spreading the Church's cultural wealth, perfectly embodying the moral standard of technology serving mission rather than profit. The scourge of crypto scams. The high spiritual and symbolic value of the Vatican has made it a target for digital scammers. Several fraudulent projects have attempted to launch Vatican coins or Catholic cryptocurrencies, promising papal endorsement or divine backing. The Holy See has taken swift and public action to denounce these schemes, warning the faithful against participating. This defensive measure is essential, not only to protect assets, but to uphold the Church's credibility, stressing that the euro is the sole legal tender within the sovereign state. Part 3. Conclusion and the way forward. Our deep dive reveals that the Vatican's encounter with cryptocurrency is far more nuanced than a simple economic judgment. It is a profound moral and technological calculation rooted in 2 millennia of doctrine. The Holy See, a master of long-term survival, has approached the digital revolution with a strategy best described as calculated conservatism. It is a refusal to rush into speculation, prioritizing ethical stability over the fleeting speed of digital finance. The overwhelming conclusion of our analysis is one of separation. The Vatican has successfully delineated the morally sound technology from the ethically hazardous asset. It has built financial firewalls, specifically through the rigorous compliance enforced by the IOSIF, to insulate its core operations from the volatility, anonymity, and environmental debt of current cryptocurrency models. This regulatory barrier serves as a moral shield, ensuring the integrity of the Church's mission remains untainted by the risks of illicit financing and speculative greed. In the near future, we are witnessing a selective adoption based strictly on the principle of missionary utility. We are not likely to see the IOR buying Bitcoin, but we are actively seeing the Holy See leverage blockchain technology to reinforce its own values. The use of DLT for creating transparent, auditable records for charitable funds promises a powerful new tool in Pope Francis's war on internal and external corruption. Furthermore, the development of the NFT gallery is a strategic move, utilizing digital certificates to fulfill the principle of the universal destination of goods, making its priceless cultural heritage accessible to every person, regardless of geography or wealth. The path forward for the Church involves providing a global ethical orientation for the digital economy. The Vatican understands that technology is permanent. Its mandate is not to stop innovation, but to baptize the technology to ensure that it serves the dignity of the human person and the common good. It will continue to champion technologies that enhance transparency, promote financial inclusion for the truly marginalized, and adhere to environmental sustainability. The moral challenge of cryptocurrency remains the ultimate reflection point. Does this revolutionary money system reinforce the economy that excludes by amplifying speculative greed, or can its decentralized nature finally empower the poor and dismantle the financial monopolies that the Church has long criticized? The Vatican's verdict is ongoing. It will continue to watch patiently, waiting for the technology to mature into an ethical and stable force that serves true human development. Now we turn the question back to you. Do you believe the Holy See should take a bolder stance, perhaps issuing a stable coin to champion financial inclusion and ethical giving? Or is their cautious approach the only responsible path for a moral authority? Share your insights and perspectives in the comments below. This content is for educational and analytical purposes only. It is not financial, investment, or legal advice. If you found this deep dive valuable, please take a moment to like this video, share it with others who are navigating this complex intersection of faith and finance, and be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Join us next time for another fascinating journey into the secrets of Catholicism.